got a little bit of room. 3-on-3 going in. He chips it in behind Gilmore. Back in. Put up and in! Austin Cangelosi with the game winner in overtime. What a play!
In the game, Sedum will carry the puck behind his net and wait out the buzzer. They're on their feet here at the Covelli Center. And ladies and gentlemen, the Youngstown Phantoms are the 2018 Eastern Conference champions. They're going to the Clark Cup final.
Welcome, hockey fans, to episode 8 of Hockey People on the Computer Getting Coffee, brought to you by Dunkin. I'm Voice of the Phantoms, Matt Lipsack, and I am joined here by the star of the Iowa Wild, the AHL's leading point getter this year, member of the Phantoms all-decade team, Sam Annis. Sam, did I get all of that right? Am I missing anything? I'm sure I missed a couple of things, right?
No, I think that all sounds good to me. It's thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I know you and I've been trying to get the schedules synced up for a couple weeks now, and finally able to sit down together. I'm excited. Are you nervous at all?
No, I think I've done a few Zoom interviews over the past quarantine here, so I think the nerves have gone away with the few I've done.
So I will repeat a question that's probably been asked to you several times. What have you been up to since the AHL shut down and unfortunately canceled the season, I guess probably about 2 months ago at this point?
Yeah, it's already 3 months now, which is crazy to think. We finished March 11th, I think, and I spent the first month in Iowa still. I stayed with my girlfriend for a bit and then went home, spent some time with my family, which was nice. And my sister and her husband were home. They live in New York City, so they were home too. So we had a full house at home, which was awesome, and just kind of felt like we were on summer break from high school and just kind of enjoying time at home, and was there for 2 months, and now I'm up in St. Paul.
And we, of course, saw you on Instagram hanging out at the rink there in, is it Landon, Maryland? Did I get that right?
Landon was my high school.
Okay.
And so I grew up in Potomac, and
that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about a little bit about your time in Youngstown. What's your favorite memory from the 2 seasons that you got to spend in Northeastern Ohio?
Pretty tough to put a finger on one thing. I really enjoyed my 2 years living with the Black family. First year I lived there with Mike Ambrosia and Dylan Marganeri. And then my second year I lived with Sean Romeo and Alfred Larson. And just both years is such a great dynamic between us and the family, and still in touch with them. And first couple of years in the AHL, we'd play in Cleveland, and the family would come to the games, and we'd be able to go to dinner and catch up and things like that. So still very close with them, and obviously the players and the groups that we had. It was just a special place.
And you did my next question for me. I was going to ask you to shout out to your billet family. And, of course, we do thank our billet families here in the USHL. We couldn't do what we do without the billet. So thank you to the Blacks for putting up with Sam. Hopefully his laundry wasn't too terrible.
No, we did our own laundry there. So
see, Sam, look at you.
Yeah, really, really prepared me for the real world.
So let's talk about those teams that you were a part of. So you were there the first year the Phantoms made the playoffs in 2011, 2012, and then 2012, 2013, the team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals before falling to the Dubuque Fighting Saints. And I'm sorry if that's a sore subject. I probably still haven't gotten over. I can never remember if it was game 1 or game 2 where there was that goal that wasn't a goal. I can never remember which game it was. I just know I'm still angry about it.
Yeah, that was I can't remember either, but there was definitely some controversy, and that was a great series though. I think we were probably the 2 best teams in the league that year, and took it to game 5, and they had a better game than us that night, and they beat us, and they went on to win the Clark final and Clark Cup, and that was that, unfortunately.
So on those 2 teams, who was there anybody who was you would call the prankster on those 2 teams?
The prankster. I guess for most of the time it was probably JT Stengline. He
Okay.
my first year, and then in the second year he ended up getting traded, but he was definitely the prankster on the team.
I remember JT getting traded for Cam Brown, and what an addition that was to help with that run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Who was always late? Can you remember anybody who was always pushing the clock
Always
just a
late.
little bit?
I honestly cannot remember. I maybe have some guesses, but I would not want to throw anyone under the bus.
Okay,
if I'm really
that's
wrong.
fair.
But yeah, that's tough to remember. I don't think anyone really pops into my head.
So you and I were talking about some of the long bus rides off the air before we started the interview. Who would snore the loudest on the sleeper bus?
Snore. I don't know. Some of these things are unfortunately tough to remember. I guess, yeah, like we were saying, it's been 7-8 years now. So many memories of guys and stuff we did, but yeah, just I think my first year, maybe Richard Zanol, I think was
Okay.
probably the snore.
I remember Richard.
Yeah, that would be my guess for who was the worst snorer.
Okay. You also mentioned that you had a sister to me. Would you have let her date any of your teammates, or would you have let any of your teammates date her?
Probably the only guy that I would let on that team have date my sister, who is now getting married this summer, is Alex Dahl. He's been with the same girl for forever, and they're finally getting married. Unfortunately, the wedding's kind of getting messed up because of COVID, but yeah, Alex is probably the only guy. He's a great guy. Shout out to him and Grace. So,
congratulations, Alex.
Yes.
Who was the guy at the end of practice that just always had more energy? Didn't matter if it was bag skates or you guys had been scrimmaging hard. Who was just hey, leave me the keys. I'll turn the lights off. I'll Zambo the ice. Just I want to go some more.
Probably Austin Cangelosi. I think I remember times we'd stay on the ice and maybe me, him, and Mike Ambrosia, and we would do like fun breakaways, but where one of us would be playing goalie on our knees and things like that, and just kind of being on the ice as long as we could, just having fun like we were kids again, which we were at that age. But
I mean, 7 years ago was, let's see, I was still in my 27 years ago.
Yeah.
So, Sam, last month you were named to the Phantoms All-Decade team as one of the three forwards. It was you, Kyle Connor, and Josh Melnick were named as the forwards. What does that honor mean to you, and how awesome is it that 7 years after you left Youngstown, people still remember the name Sam Annis and the performance that you put out on the ice?
Yeah, I think the coolest part is that it was voted by the fans, and just to know that I had an impact on fans for that it was that long ago. And also it's good to see that clearly the fan base is still strong, and the fans that were there then are still there now. And just to be on the list and the names of some of those guys is awesome. And it's been it's a great organization, and it's only going up.
So, Sam, after you left Youngstown, you went to Quinnipiac and played 3 very good years there. I especially remember just watching in awe at your freshman year, some of the numbers you put up. I believe you were voted the top rookie in the country. And then your junior year, you guys won the ECAC tournament, made it all the way to the national title game. And then you decided to forego your senior season and join the Iowa Wild. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and how that kind of worked out? And the reason that I ask it is this, whenever the NHL does decide to hold its draft, whenever that's going to be, for all we know, it's going to be October. There are 3 kids that played with the Phantoms this year that could hear their names called: Trevor Kumtar, Colin Purcell, Ben Schoen. You didn't get drafted. You were a college free agent, and you ended up signing with Minnesota. So, can you kind of explain to us that whole process, how that goes?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think I was a bit of a late bloomer, so my draft years I wasn't anything special, wasn't sought after at all, and Quinnipiac was my only official Division I offer at the time when I committed. And worked out great for me and had 3 amazing years there. And credit to Youngstown and the USHL because it really developed me into the player that I was in college. And I don't think I would have been able to jump in and have the success that I did without having played 2 years in the USHL and developing and letting my body develop and getting stronger and playing against older guys, just preparing myself for the seriousness of college hockey and how great it was. And the process of signing, I had taken some extra classes and was able to graduate after my junior year and was kind of weighing the options of if I was to go back, then I would have potentially been able to get my MBA and finish up after that. And had an offer on the table from Minnesota, and being an undrafted player, you just never know what sort of injuries might occur, and just seemed like the right option at the time to accept the offer. And knowing I had my degree, it made it a little easier too.
You touched on it a little bit. How do you feel playing in the USHL and playing in Youngstown prepared you for playing in the NCAA and now with the Iowa Wild of the AHL?
Yeah, I touched on this. I did the USHL podcast a couple weeks ago, and I said that jumping from high school / youth hockey into the USHL was the hardest transition of levels that I've had to make at any point in my career. I think jumping from the USHL to college, for me, it wasn't as much of a jump as it was going to the USHL or college to the AHL. I think obviously to the NHL would be a level that is probably unreached, but hopefully I get to see that soon. And I just think it's such a prestigious league and only 16 teams, and just kind of, I was explaining the whole thing to my girlfriend last week about how the USHL, there's only 16 teams in the league and there's 61 or 60 Division I programs, and how elite the USHL is and how well it prepared me for college.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now and where you're at. I don't know that we've shared that with our listeners yet here on the show.
Yeah, so I just got into St. Paul this week. I'll be a part of the process here with Minnesota Wild, and we're not really sure how all this is going to play out or what's going to happen, but the rough plan is for there to be a training camp here, getting ready for the playoffs to start, and just kind of taking it day by day and trying to do what I can and tried to stay in best shape as possible and just see how it goes and see if I can provide some depth or maybe get a chance here.
So, Sam, you're going to be what is colloquially known as a black ace. You're going to be a minor league player up with the Minnesota Wild as they prepare for the playoffs. Who do they have in the first round?
They're slated up against Vancouver, so we'll see. The hub city is Edmonton, so there's still obviously some stuff that has to get done, but it's still exciting time right now.
Well, Sam, I know that the folks in Youngstown couldn't be happier for you, and we are definitely going to be watching what is going on. I mean, I think we're all desperate for some form of sport and to see some hockey. How weird is it going to be for hockey in July and August when you're normally trying to relax and get your body to recuperate?
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. I think the most unique part about it all will be the no fans. I think that's going to be tough on the players, and I don't know how they're going to figure out if they're going to put in crowd noise or this and that, or it's going to look different on TV too. So I think there's going to be some differences and different feel to the game. Obviously, playoff crowds are unlike anything else, and to all of a sudden go to cold turkey and no people in the stands, it's going to be quite a different feel in the rink.
Do you think it'll be a little harder to track the puck with no fans, or is it harder to track the puck with fans in the arena?
I don't think as a player that really affects you. It might only thing it might affect the goalie. Depends if there's dark seats in the stands. I know some buildings have brighter colored seats so that if there's no fans, that the goalie isn't seeing a black puck come in his eyesight with a black backdrop, maybe something like that. But that's the only thing I've ever heard of someone having trouble tracking the puck. So
Tell us a little bit about the shortened season that just got completed for you in Iowa. You won the AHL scoring title. Tell us a little bit about the team that you had there in Des Moines this year.
yeah, we had a great team. We were very close off the ice, and I think a lot of times when that happens, like my time in Youngstown, we had teams that were very close off the ice, and it translated to on-ice success. And we just had a group of guys that really cared about each other, and in the end, everyone was very selfless, and everyone put the team first, and it translated to team success. And when there's team success, there's usually individual success, and we had a great year.
That's awesome, Sam. So before I let you go, and I don't know if you're very busy, so I don't know if you have time for Netflix and Hulu, but any show suggestions for us to help get us through the rest of quarantine?
Nothing too crazy. I'm a big repeat show guy. I like watching a couple episodes of The Office before bed, or watching Entourage or Friends, or just kind of simple things like that. Haven't watched too many. Obviously got the Tiger King out of the way, things like that, and all the quarantine basics, I think, as you can say, but nothing out of the blue that I can recommend, unfortunately.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Annis, the forward of the Iowa Wild, former Youngstown fan, a member of the All-Decade team. Sam, thank you so much for joining us here on episode 8 of Hockey People on the Computer Getting Coffee, brought to you by our friends in Dunkin. Sam, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, fans, we will catch you next time for episode 9. Sound out. Fade to black.